Hi, welcome to Coffee with Becky. We've been talking about Matthew 1 and we really haven't gotten very far this week, have we? It's in Matthew 1 and today we're going to look at verse 5. Salmon begot Boaz by Rahab. Boaz begot Obed by Ruth. Obed begot Jesse. We're getting close to David, not quite yet. I want to talk about Ruth today. She is in the book of Ruth, and it starts with Naomi and Elimelech have gone down to a different country, to Moab, because there was a famine in the land. It doesn't say God told them to go, they went because of the famine. And they were there living among the Moabites. Now, these people were, for the most part, ungodly. They worshiped idols. And Ruth lived there. Now, Naomi and Elimelech's two sons married two Moabite women. And through some currents of events, we don't even really know, but Elimelech and Mahlon and Chilion, all three died. All the men in the family died. And so Naomi is left with her two daughters-in-law, and she decides to go back home. And so she's telling her daughters-in-law that she's going back to her country, and they start following her, and Naomi stops them and says, "The Lord's dealt kindly with me, and I release you to go back to your families." In fact, she was just saying, I release you to go back to your old life. I release you to go marry Moabite men, and I release you from any indebtedness you may feel towards me. And one daughter-in-law does. Weeping, she turns and leaves and goes back home. But Ruth says, and these are some of the famous words that we hear a lot at weddings, "Wherever you go, I'll go. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." And she makes a lifetime commitment to Naomi right then. So when they come back into the city, into Bethlehem, people see Naomi and they stop her, and she says, "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara," which means bitter. That she has been dealt a bitter hand, and she's bitter with what's happened. Through the story, now Ruth is an alien to these people. It's an alien culture to her. Now, she knew some of the culture because she had married into this family. But imagine going to a different country. I mean, it's probably not that far from Moab to Bethlehem, but it's a totally different culture. And so Ruth has come into this culture believing she'll probably never get married, and believing that she will support her mother-in-law the rest of her life. And that's exactly what she does. She's a hard worker. She asks to go into a field and to gather the wheat so that she and her mother-in-law can eat. And her mother-in-law gives her permission and says, "Go to this field," because she knew the man to be a righteous man. And so Ruth does. She goes, and she is a hard worker. Boaz owns the field, and he sees her. I'm sure she sticks out, probably because of different color of skin. And Boaz asked about her, and the people say, "We don't really know. She just showed up." And he said, "Tell her not to leave, and to come behind and gather the grain, and she can collect what she needs." And so he's promising protection for her, a single woman taking care of her mother-in-law. Well, this beautiful story of Ruth, Naomi understands what's going on, and she tells Ruth, "Here's what you do." Now, Ruth didn't know the culture, and so she had to trust Naomi. And Naomi said, "Go down to the field, and at night go uncover Boaz's feet, lay at his feet. And when he asks you, ask him for protection, ask him to marry you." And she does. And Boaz, being an upright man, goes to the city gate to see if there's one in a family closer than him who has the right to marry her first. And there is someone, but he gives up his right to Boaz. Boaz marries her and loves her and they have a son, and that son, then Naomi treats like her own son. So it's just such a beautiful, beautiful story. I don't know if you've ever been out of the country and engaged with another culture. It can be so intimidating, especially if they don't speak the same language. And to become a part, immerse yourself in that culture is frightening. And you don't know which way to step because you don't know if you're going to offend someone with what you do. I remember the first time we went to China and just being so careful. I didn't want to offend the people who were there. I wanted to be cautious, but I wanted to love the people. I wanted to immerse myself in that culture as much as I could and to love those people. I love Ruth. I love her story that she was released to go back home to her comfort, to what she knew and what she understood, but she chose the hard thing. She chose to follow her mother-in-law to a different country where she was going to be looked at differently because of the color of her skin, and where she didn't know the language, or didn't know much of it, I'm sure, didn't know the way of the culture, but she gave herself over completely to Naomi and to this other culture, to her husband's culture. And in turn, God took care of her. Boaz is a picture of Jesus, how he comes to redeem us, how he comes to claim us, even though we're aliens to him because we have a sinful nature, but he comes to claim us as his own and takes us and cares for us. What a beautiful picture in the lineage of Jesus Christ. You may be living in a culture that is so different than your own. I want you to take heart. God has called you to this place for a reason. He has something for you. He wants to reveal a part of himself that he couldn't reveal any other way. Be encouraged today as you think on the story of Ruth. Thank you for joining me today.